Welcome to the You Are a Force podcast channel, your go-to space for real stories, fearless dreams, and unstoppable women rewriting the rules. And the force behind this podcast. Here is your host, Binoli Botadara.
Hi everyone, welcome to You Are a Force, where we celebrate incredible women from around the world who are driving change, making their mark, and rewriting their stories. This podcast is my love letter to all the women who are building, leading, creating, nurturing, and dreaming out loud. It's a safe space for honest, fearless conversations. I'm your host, Binoli Botadara, and my today's guest is a true force in every sense of the word. She has built strong Pan-African voices across media, politics, cultures, and also she's empowering women all across Africa. An entrepreneur, strategist, public speaker, she's shaping conversations around African leadership, visibility, and power. Forbes Africa 30 Under 30, TEDx speaker, founder of Fashizblack magazine, and Club ADEN, a fastest growing private network for ambitious women. My guest is none other than Paola-Audrey Ndengue. Paola, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to have you. Okay. Hi, Paola. Welcome to You Are a Force.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for everything that you're doing to make our voices heard.
You're welcome. I'm so thrilled and excited. I had been thinking about it since morning that, how is it going to be to actually meet you in person? But this is actually, we live in 2025, so this is actually a new reality. But thank you for your time, and I'm straight right into it. So, Paola, you wear so many hats. You are an entrepreneur, writer, TV presenter. You have shaped narratives and launched platforms and moved cultures across continents. So I want to know that when did you first realize that you were not just building your career, but you were becoming a force?
I think the first time I really realized it is when I heard people quoting me. I think it sounds weird, but I think sometimes I would be, attending events or having, feedbacks from people, and they will mention me in conversations and mentioning my ideas, not necessarily what I've done, but more like the concepts, the theories that I share, because I'm quite close to my audience. I always make sure, I keep this link between me and my community to be very vibrant and to be like a reciprocal link, and not just me coming with ideas, but it's really a conversation that I shift first and foremost with the people that follow me, that have been following my work. So in this dialogue that I have with them, I always come up with like thoughts that I have on or concepts or the way I understand what's happening, let's say at a global scale or specifically in Africa. And then, it's always very interesting, a couple of months later to hear people kind of reusing those concepts, sometimes with the names that I actually use for those concepts. And I thought, okay, so what I say might be resonating with certain people.
That's amazing. That sounds like, so fulfilling as well, right? When people actually acknowledge something what you've done. And so I really want to start from the beginning that, when you started Fashizblack, it's such a beautiful name, but it started as a blog, right? So you started blogging and then it became what it is now, which is a full-fledged magazine. And this was way ahead of its time because you were advocating African culture before the whole diversity became a trend, right? So how do you balance the culture authenticity with the global relevance when you're telling African stories?
Well, I think you don't necessarily have to pick. I think it can be both. I think what is very important is really, again, authenticity is doing, and this is something that I've been really, really holding on to, from the personal to the professional life, is really being authentic, being true to yourself, because I always say it's just the easiest way of doing things. It's also your way to stay consistent throughout time. You're talking about Fashizblack. We created it in 2007. So it's been a minute. And for me to still be active, I don't know, more than 15 years later, it's also because I always stuck to being authentic. I think it's something that talks to everyone across cultures, across genders, even. I think when you know that someone is really believing in what they do and believing in what they say, and that their journey or what they want to share is sincere, it would always speak to you, even if it looks very far, even if it's a concept that you might not understand, even if you don't have the codes. I think once you really see the passion in the person, what the person is trying to share, and what the person is advocating for, I think it's really almost instinctive. It will or won't speak to you, but it's really going to be that immediate in the decision you're going to make towards it. So globally, first of all, we're in a globalized world today. The internet made it very easy, or easier, to be able to open your mind to things that really look very far from what you're used to on a daily basis. So it's really all about open-mindedness. And also, I would say, being able to embrace, and being able to look at things, as I would say, with curiosity, and genuinely trying to understand. That's the approach that I have towards everything that I do. I'm interested in things that have nothing to do one with the other. Some things that are extremely far from my daily realities, but I always, try to go towards it with curiosity and trying to understand.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think curiosity is something so important. People actually
Mm,
don't really pay attention to. And I think
yeah.
also what's important is you being relevant and authentic, but consistently, right? Like you sound authentic for 3 days, and then again, you're not yourself. Then people do
Mhm.
recognize that. So it says a lot that from 2007, it's actually who you are, right? Your authentic self.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Trying to.
That's amazing. I was wondering that being Forbes Africa 30 under 30 is huge, right? I mean, I was like, wow. When I was doing research for this one, and when I started understanding who you are more in detail, I was like, wow, this is huge. But tell me, off the record, did you feel that that was a big milestone, or you think that there is another bigger personal milestone you've already achieved?
Oh my God, the list of milestones that I have to achieve is so long. I'm not even sure I'm remembering everything. But in the same time, I'm very thankful. I'm learning how to be, present. And when I say present, it's because sometimes I believe a lot of ambitious people, or specifically ambitious women, we tend to, always look ahead. What's next? And not necessarily enjoy whenever we have those specific milestones at a given moment. So, to answer your question, I'm not going to lie, it was a great one, because I was on that list that year with really amazing, talented people that I actually got to even meet, for some of them, during the Forbes Africa events that actually was held in Johannesburg in South Africa. So it was almost more interesting to be in that room at that event, with the people on the list. And I think it's really one of those moments when I was like, oh, so I actually really belong here, because yes, it's not often. And especially because I was one of the few francophones, I mean, few people from Francophone Africa to be on the list that year. Most nominees were from, the typical South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. So we're not a lot from my region. And, getting there and networking and speaking with other people from other countries, and seeing that, they are in different markets, but somehow we've kind of been doing pretty much the same thing and having the same vision. That was really, I think, quite empowering. And it was also, having a globe, like at least a continental recognition. Yeah. That meant a lot to me, because that's my approach in general. When it comes to Africa, I don't work from a country perspective. I really work from a continental, or at least a sub-Saharan approach. So having, a recognition that really covers that entire region of the continent was yeah, that was quite fulfilling.
Wow, more power to you, Paula, and many more to come.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also was very, very curious when I understood that long back when you were working with MTV and during your MTV days, you were leading the marketing. And at that point in time, for one particular, I think the program. And at that point in time, you combine pop culture with education or educating rather the youth on HIV/AIDS. And
Yeah,
that is so
yeah.
strong that, what was that one story which did not make to the headlines from the campaign, which you think that, which touched your soul? If you can share that with us.
Oh, there were so many. Working with the MTV Foundation, I always tell people I think that is probably top three of the life-changing professional experience that I ever had. Before that, I was mainly working with or around everything related to culture, to tech, to stuff like that. And then now I got to this position where I could combine, my love for, pop culture and then yeah, social issues and health issues and young people because the campaign was targeting specifically young women between 16 and 24, right? So that was like, wow, I have something where I can, be useful, use entertainment, but with a meaning, with a cause behind it. So one part of the of my job was to set up, you know, basically we had meetings with young people where we would be showcasing the episodes of the show, and then they would have people from NGOs that would come and speak to them about sexual health. And as part of that, we had to train some of those young people. So it's called peer education. Basically, the idea is to say we'd rather have young people speaking to other young people. The messaging will be a bit more efficient, right? So I took part in the training because it was important for me as well, not only as the professional, not only as a person representing the MTV Foundation, but also as a person. I felt like it would be useful for me to be trained to know how to convey certain messages, how to also be a safe space
Yes.
for people, because a lot of those meetings, you will have young people that will come and talk to you about rape, that will come and talk to you about incest, that will come and talk to you about, domestic violence. So you have to be trained in order to be able to create a sensation that they have been heard, that they're being seen, and that they can trust you enough to tell you these things. So that training was, I think, particularly, I won't say challenging, but I really, went home and I really had to take some time because they literally teach you how to create a certain distance, so that you don't identify too much with the stories, right? But in the meantime, to show empathy, right? So that the people can actually speak to you. So it's a balance that you have to find. And one of the cases that really touched me the most is we did one screening of one of the episodes, and then we were talking about consent. And then I remember one of the members of one of the NGOs we were working with started to explain what literally consent is. And I will never forget the look in the eyes of the young girls and the young boys in the room. There was such a silence that was extremely loud because I could feel that some of the boys in the room were realizing that there may have been instances where they actually didn't get consent to have sex with someone. And I could see in the girls' eyes that there were moments where they realized that they actually were raped, but they didn't really realize it, right? So that was such a powerful yet kind of sad moment. But what I took from it was the huge importance that we have to continue with this type of campaigns, right? The huge importance that we have to not let the internet educate young people on those topics. Like, they still need to speak to real people. And I would say to conclude on that, what I took from that professional experience is still useful to me today. What allowed me to build Club ADEN is also because I have been able to, speak to women, young or less young women, in such a way that they trust me enough, again, to tell me their stories. That's basically how the club came together. So, basically what I took from one experience is really helping me with everything that I've been doing so far.
For sure. You gave me goosebumps, Paula, when you were talking about that particular experience. I could actually visualize that. And we all have been there, right? Like sometimes when
Exactly.
you can't even say a lot of things, and you know a lot of your friends have also been through that. So I personally got goosebumps when you were talking. And but kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
And speaking of Club ADEN, that's a perfect segue to my next question.
Mhm.
Club ADEN is clearly a standout, platform, and it has become like one of the most popular network. And you have striked a sort of unique chord. So, how does Club ADEN differentiates, for ambitious African women from other networks they can participate in?
Sure. I think I would say different things. First of all, it was important for me to create a space again where women felt safe. That's extremely important to me because I believe, and again, it's coming from my personal experience. That's also why I think a lot of those women are confident in joining the club because again, they know that it comes from an authentic place. It comes from my personal experience, and I share the same as them, which is, being at the intersection of being a woman, a Black woman, an African woman, having ambition, and not being shy about it, and also being able to stand on your own 2 feet and defend your ideas and being outspoken. It's so many things where, and so many instances where you almost have to justify why are you this ambitious? Why are you a woman and you don't want to stick to your natural place? And especially in an African society, or when you come in and out, from an African culture, it's can be quite a fight. So I think that the fact that they are able to to see that there is a space where other women have been going through that as well, and where they can just lay their heads down and say, okay, in this space, I don't have to fight. I don't have to justify myself. I'm actually,
And
I'm actually normal.
yeah.
Yes, I'm not a crazy one. And I think that's the first feeling. So it's a feeling of relief. I think that's the first thing that really draws women into the club. The second one is I do my best to provide added value. That's always something that I try to do. So basically, what we share with them is, and in my capacity, I try to tailor content and services that really match their needs. Again, as I was saying earlier, I try to maintain a close dialogue with my community. So whenever they express something, I take a step back and I think, okay, with my team, how can we, answer this need that the community has? So basically, what I built was a newsletter that I send to them every Wednesday, with a selection of middle to top management job positions in Africa, because a lot of them either want to move countries, either want to actually move continents. They want to leave Europe, they want to move back to Africa. So the first step to it is to actually have a job opportunity that would allow you to settle in the nicest way possible. So they don't always know where to look for opportunities. I usually get those opportunities. I will literally say no to them. So instead of just saying no, I'd rather, have them and being used by someone else. So every Wednesday, I send them that. In the same newsletter, we also spotlight every week a woman in the corporate world in Africa that has been, moving forward, either a nomination, a new job, or has received an award. So they can also kind of get to know how things work, see, women doing amazing things, but also kind of keep their finger on the pulse when it comes to what's going on in the corporate world. Right. So you can know, okay, in this company, there's this woman who's heading the services, and usually we will share what she has done before. So you can also take a look at what her journey has been, and maybe that can inspire you as well.
Yeah.
Right. So we share that every Wednesday. And also in the same newsletter, we share every call for grants, every call, for funding for projects and stuff like that, because I also have a lot of entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs in the club. So it's also for them to be, allowed to kind of, spot what are the different opportunities they may have to get funding for their projects. On Thursday, what I send is another newsletter. This time around, it's more like monitoring what's going on in Africa in terms of news, from tech to business to marketing to politics sometimes. But again, I know those women, for a lot of them, are very busy women. So it allows them every, Thursday to have kind of a recap of what I thought was interesting this week, things that they should read, things that they should watch. We also spotlight social media accounts that they should follow. Sometimes it's entertaining. Sometimes you're going to learn. Sometimes it's just, we think people are doing good content. We also share a little bit of lifestyle. Okay, there's this new cafe that opened in Ghana, this new, library that opened in Kenya. So because there are also women that travel a lot, we also, share, African fashion. So it's really something that would allow them to, again, be informed, be entertained, but always with added value and putting Africa at the center. And now the new newsletter, the third one that we're adding this year, because we're celebrating the first year of the club, is a newsletter so the name in French is Le Bon Piment. I would translate that in English as the good pepper. Wow. So the good pepper, yeah. So the good pepper is the third newsletter that we're launching these days. I decided to launch it because, running the club for a year, again, I was able to listen to conversations. We have a Telegram group, a private group where women talk to each other. And I really voluntarily stepped back, not to head the conversations, but to let them speak to each other, right?
Sure.
And I'm analyzing, what are they talking about? What are their needs? What are the topics that, keep coming? Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting because some of those women in the club actually became friends. They go on holidays now. They go to brunch, they network, they help each other professionally. So I think that's exactly what I had in mind for the group. And I always told them, like, you're big girls. I don't have to show you what to do. My job is the architect. I just had to create platforms where you guys come together. But then again, I'll let you, handle how you want to work. So some of the members created subgroups. Some dedicated to, they created a digital book club where they're discussing the books that they're reading. Another one is, okay, they're moms. They want to know where, what's the best doctor for the kids. Mm-hmm. So I really let them handle that. I think they're successful women already. They don't need me to tell them what they do. They just need me to basically craft spaces where they can, network and create friends as well. I think for a lot of these women, it's also that, once you get to a certain age in adulthood, it becomes a bit more complicated to form friendship, very solid friendship with other women. So I think they're very happy to be able to meet like-minded women that they can, again, go to the restaurant with, travel with, and stuff like that. So back to the newsletter, the new one that I created, the Good Pepper was really out of analyzing the topics that they sometimes talk about. And I thought, listen, yes, they're professional women. Yes, they're ambitious women, but they also have needs when it comes to their personal life, right? They also have questions when it comes to how do you pick the right partner. We keep hearing everywhere in different podcasts that as an ambitious woman, and I really believe that, you either have an extremely supportive partner, or you stay single. There's no middle ground, right? If you want to make sure you can pretty much have it all, basically. Yeah. So I decided to create now a newsletter dedicated to that. Talking about love and dating as an ambitious African woman. What are the challenges? What are the things that you need to pay attention to? And also globally talking about their, mental well-being. A lot of them have imposter syndrome issues. I also want to address that in that newsletter. So it's really, that one is not focused on jobs and, getting ahead in their careers. We already have an offer for that. Now I also want something else for the young women that might have everything handled when it comes to their work, but they still have questions in how to find a work, work balance, how to pick the right partner, what to look out in terms of how they want to build their families and stuff like that.
That's amazing. Oh my God. And you actually nailed it that, ambitious women, it's very, very difficult to either be you just have two choices, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And also what I've realized that I come from India and I would speak it. I totally understood when you were trying to say that, it's very, very difficult when you are coming from certain backgrounds to be ambitious, because in my culture, if you are a woman and if you're ambitious, it's looked down upon. I'm not saying my culture in general. India is very progressive. But but like if a girl is ambitious and like, oh, you don't want to get married, you don't want to have kids.
Exactly.
Like, what about this? I have been told in my career that if you're making so much money, who will marry you? And
Exactly
so
the same.
and, and I'm like, what? So why would I
Exactly.
shrink myself to just fit in and just so
Exactly.
that, I would find a guy who would accept me? I'm like, no. And I was very blessed to have parents who did not think that way. So they really gave me a lot of support and,
Mhm.
push to like be who I am. But yeah,
Mhm.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Good luck for the good pepper, and
Thank you.
moving ahead and looking forward in June of
Mhm.
2025 with
Yeah.
Bloomberg's Africa Media Initiative. You will have a profound platform to speak about economy, gender, and Africa's future. So, what is that one misconception you think, according to you, people have about Africa, where you would like to actually challenge that?
Whew, I think probably the idea that Africa is still playing kind of a background role when it comes to how the world is evolving as a whole. It's always like I think my perspective, especially because the event is speaking about media, right? It's really focused on media, but also the perception of Africa. I've always noticed that everything from the world will come to Africa, but the world is not always necessarily open to hear what Africa has to say as a whole, right? And I think that's where media producers, content creators, and everything that we create from the continent has to have an even more, I would say, loud voice. We need to start, and I would say the misconception should actually, I would even address it more to, young Africans actually than to the world by saying, you have a place to occupy, you have a story to tell, put it out. Don't think your vision is limited to your country, limited to your continent. No, today, I'm sorry, if people are able to, go crazy about South Korean content, I don't see why, as somebody who's in Dakar in Senegal, somebody who is in, I don't know, in Uganda, cannot also say, listen, this is my deeply local story, but I can push it to a certain level and then it's going to cross over. That has always been my vision. So I think right now, I would say specifically young Africans should really start thinking global. I think we don't think global enough. And again, I might understand why, because we have like some, infrastructure challenges, unfortunately. But I really believe that we need today to be even louder. We need to give all the glory to all the local stories and challenges and also beautiful and hopeful tales that we might have sometimes, and really put it out there. I think the world has never been this opened. When I say open, is in terms of having people being able to be touched by something that is across the planet on the other side, right? So I think that's really an opportunity. It needs to be seized.
That's amazing, because I think also sometimes, we think it's a small idea till we actually start talking to people. And when people's
Hmm.
reaction come in and then, it goes viral, like so many times when the things have gone viral, nobody really thought it would.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I was recently in Harrods, and there's this chocolate. I don't know if you've seen this pistachio chocolate, which has the
Yes.
pistachio feeling and with the chocolate. Even
Hmm.
things like Godiva has started, and this girl she was, I think she was pregnant in Dubai, and she was craving for this sort of pistachio chocolate kind of thing. So she started making at home, and then that actually went into production, and then she started doing it, and now it has gone so viral that everyone else is actually copying and making it like a mainstream. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you really never know, but thank you so much, Paula. I mean,
Thank you.
I'm just looking at the time, and I'm cognizant of your time as well. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been
Thank you for having me.
incredible speaking with you. And that's our conversation with powerful conversation with Paola-Audrey Ndengue. Remember, her insights, her strengths, and the truth that every woman's journey adds to the collective power which we are building here at You Are a Force. This isn't just a podcast, it's a high five. It's a global high five. It's a virtual coffee date with incredible women across the world. So let's grow this unstoppable sisterhood, one story at a time, because darling, remember, you are a force. Let's rise together. Until next time, stay powerful. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm just...
Thank you for listening to You Are a Force. Hit subscribe and join us next week for more powerful stories from women rewriting the rules. Until then, keep building, keep leading, and remember, you are a force.